Awesome.
So, all right, Caitlin, take it away.
Great, thanks, John. Sure. All right, can you see that okay? Awesome. So I'm going to dig into Microsoft Planner today, which is my favorite project management Kanban software system.
Caitlin, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, yes. So I'm Katie Bachwalt. I am a continuous improvement program manager with the Vermont Agency of Transportation. Started in this position about a month ago, was previously with DEC. So what is Microsoft Planner? We're going to go into a more in-depth demo of how to use the tool a little bit later, but at a high level, Planner is a visual project management software that can be used for both personal planning and teamwork planning. And it uses a really simple and intuitive card-based interface that is often easier to use than other planning software. For example, I've worked with a few people who've used Microsoft Project before, which is much more in-depth and better at handling larger and more complex projects, but Planner is very simple and easy to use, and people can get started with it right away. And it also has the benefit of connecting with other Microsoft services such as Power Automate and Outlook and To-Do, SharePoint and Forms as well. For example, you can develop all sorts of Power Automate processes to receive an email when a task is completed or create a planner task when a Microsoft form is submitted. So it really allows you to integrate your whole work life across the Office suite. So John gave a lot of great reasons as to why we want to use project management software to manage activities. The main advantage to using Microsoft Planner is just centralizing all of your project management tasks. So before I used Microsoft Planner, all of my tasks and to-do items were handled in my personal OneNote or in shared Excel timelines, which don't have the same visual management functionality that we'll dig into later. And Planner allows everybody on a team to have one centralized location for managing project activities. So if I was managing my project tasks or my component of a project in my OneNote, then my collaborators might not have access to the specific tasks that I'm working on or know where I'm at with those tasks. So having a visual board where everybody can go and manage all their tasks together allows for greater collaboration and communication within the team. You can also easily visualize and understand your project tasks, assignments, statuses, and deadlines. Again, that's something that's not as easily done when people are managing project activities in OneNote or in Excel. And one of Planner's weaknesses, though, is that tracking progress is more or less just in the categories of not started, in progress, or completed. Whereas when John was showing the Gantt chart before, you might be able to say a single task is 25% completed, 50% or 75%. So Planner is more just has not been started, is in progress, or completed. So that's, I'd say, the one downside to Planner that we can dig into a little bit later. So if any visual management board allows you to identify and address problems early. When we dig into Planner, you'll see that missed deadlines are highlighted in red. So you can easily see when things are overdue or when things are not being stuck to the plan. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also integrate Planner with other Microsoft products like Power Automate. So if you have like a missed deadline or a missed task, then you could potentially work with Power Automate to follow up on those tasks with people across the team as well, sending reminders, say a few days or weeks after a given item is overdue. And lastly, I really like using Planner for reducing and eliminating status reporting. So when you have all the project statuses clearly on the board, that allows your team members and management to see what's going on at any given time. So you can spend less time focusing on, oh, I started this task this week, and the next week I'm going to start this task. Everybody can very clearly and visually see that on the board, so that when you are actually in a team meeting working on a project, you can focus more on solving problems. For example, if there's a task that's overdue, you can dig into why that's overdue rather than spending time just simply updating people on the status of any given task. So it also helps make your meetings much more efficient. So how to utilize it? I've used Planner in several different ways for managing work and workflows. So my main use of it is for my individual work plan. That's how I initially got started with this. And this majorly beat the to-do list that I used to have in OneNote. prior to using Planner, I would have all 12 months of the year written out on my OneNote, and then I would just have all my projects and tasks that I wanted to do as bullets and sub-bullets and sub-bullets under that. And it was definitely not the best system. And it was also just something that was personal to me. It wasn't public for, say, my management to check in on as well, which I think that they appreciate, being able to go to a centralized place and see what you're working on. So I love using it for my individual work plan. And I highly recommend people using it for theirs as well. You can also use it for managing individual projects. So I've used this for developing lean implementation plans. So for example, coming out of one of our reporting process improvements, we came up with an implementation plan and divided the planner into 3 buckets representing different phases and assigned people to individual tasks, and we're able to keep track of our progress on that individual project component. And that's something we do a lot of in our internal performance team with AOT, as well as most of our continuous improvement engagements. The end product will be an implementation plan that we can all work on together and check in on over time. You can also use any given planner for managing multiple projects. I think this is something that managers like to do for keeping track of all the work going on in their team. So if you're a manager and you have 3 people reporting to you, you can, and several projects going on across the team, you can have all of your team projects in a given planner and keep track of where that is at once. So it's a really good management and leadership tool as well, just for managing workload across the team. And lastly, you can use Planner as a way to visualize and manage individual widgets or components of a process, components of a project flowing through a process. And this is the typical Kanban board methodology. And John has done a really great YouTube video on Kanban boards, but I see them as a little different than our typical project management boards, in that a Kanban board, typically the buckets that you use are various stages of a work process. So say you could develop a board for the permitting process. Say your program manages permits, and then you have 50 permits that go through it in a year. Your vertical buckets could be the 5 phases of permitting, from submittal to approval, and then all of your individual 50 permits could be flowing through that board at any given time, and you can see how many projects are in initial review at one time as compared to finalization or whatever your individual steps might be. And the cards are moved from left to right to show progress across the process over time. So now I'll go into a specific tutorial with a couple example planners that I have used. Let me share this screen. So this is an example from a project that we're working on internally. So we're working on developing an innovation program within AOT. And you can see that all of the tasks are divided into individual buckets. So you can categorize your buckets however makes the most sense for your project. So if you're doing a typical Kanban flow, your buckets might be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, and then all of your individual permits, for example, would move through as tasks between each of these 5 phases. But how I use it for project management, I more or less create categories within the project that needs to be worked on. So one component of developing our innovation program is developing an idea intake process in Portal. So, and then we have each individual task within us developing that portal will be its own card. And then another category of work that we're working on within this program is developing a knowledge management system and workshops to give people the education that they need to be able to innovate and continuously improve. And then we have all of the individual tasks broken out within there. And you can always add to this over time. Like, this is a planner that we've initially just set up that we're still adding dates to, adding more tasks to. And you can see here, so I can show you how to add an individual task. So, well, first, if you're going to create a new plan, you can either create a planner within browser, and you can go to all the apps here and then add planner, or you could also do it within Microsoft Teams. So all planners have to be connected to a team. And for example, you can go to any given tab and then add a planner. And then you can either create a new plan or add an existing plan from this team. So if you were to create a new plan, you just create your plan tab or planner name and then save. And unfortunately, every planner has to be associated with a team. So even though, like, I have my individual work plan, it has to be connected to a team. I have it connected to our performance section team, but there usually isn't any sensitive information on there. So that's how you add a new planner. And then to add a task, you do you just hit add task, and you can add sample task. You can set a due date, say set one for next Friday, and then you can assign people. So I can assign myself to this one, and anybody who's in your team right now, this is just a team of 2. But if you have a team of 20 people, all those 20 people on your team will be eligible to be assigned tasks. And then you can add a lot of detail to any given task. So you can build out the name as complex as you want. Progress is where you, as I was mentioning earlier, there's really only 3 categories for tracking progress: not started, in progress, and completed. So we can't say 25, 50, 75%. It's one of the main downsides to Planner. But for most of my needs, these in progress and completed is sufficient. You can mark the priority of a task, so urgent, important, medium, or low. And you can also add labels. So this is something that I've really enjoyed playing with. And labels are just another way of grouping and visually seeing what needs to be done within a project. So, for example, I developed 3 types of tags for working with this program. One tag that I have is leadership. So leadership is going to be really important in developing this innovation program, and to visualize the various steps where we're going to be working with leadership, they're going to be important in that tasks. I have them tagged here. Another one is staff input. So getting staff input on things that they need or feedback on things that we're developing. We have it tagged as staff input. And you can group by all sorts of different ways. So I can group by those labels. So I can see all the tasks with staff input, all the tasks with leadership, all the tasks with tech development. You can also group by assigned to. So I can see everything assigned to any given person within a team. Progress. So this is kind of a typical Kanban system where you can see what hasn't been started, what's in progress, and what's been completed. Due date. So things that are due this week as compared to things that don't necessarily have a date yet. Priority, important, medium, low, urgent. And the default is bucket. So the one last thing I'll show you, as we're running up on time here, are these couple other tabs at the top here. So this is your board with your typical buckets. My favorite view is the schedule view, because you can see on any given day what things might be occurring. So you can add a due date, but when you also add a start date to a project, it creates a block of time to show when you're working on something, and that can be really helpful for visualizing from week to week or month to month the typical things that are going on. And then you can also group by, this also has like a stats board as well, where you can see the priority of projects, the number of projects in buckets, the projects assigned to individual given people, and where we might be kind of in a pie chart about what's been started and what's not been started. So it's a really great, easy to use system. It's really streamlined and has a lot of functionality already built into it that you might not get necessarily if you were managing within OneNote or Excel or other platforms as well. So.
Yeah, Amy brought up an excellent point too, that you could set up individual checklists within the tasks, and you could sort of use that as a proxy for status as well.
Yeah, that's something I've done as well too. So thanks for that. There's so much Planner functionality. I'm sure I missed more. But yeah, you can add individual checklists as well. What I wish you could do with the checklist is like add sub dates, but then you just end up, you can actually promote anything to its own task as well, and then you can put dates with it that way. So yeah, those sub checklists are helpful.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really love about it is, it works really well with Power Automate. So I set up a system where if I flag an email, it automatically creates a planner task for me, and automatically sets the dates relative to what I did with the flag. And it's really, really useful because one of the things people are doing a lot more now is, instead of sending attachments in their emails, they are sending links to files. And when you hit add attachments in Planner, you can link to files. So you can tie in all of the documents, whether they be files, whether they be links, you can tie them all right in with that planner task, which makes it really easy to keep track of everything you need for a project and each element of that project right in the task card. It's really great. All right.
Yeah, thanks for
we
that.
are
Attachments.
All right, we are past time, but I want to thank everyone so much for all their work putting together these trainings. I want to thank everyone that's attended these trainings, and I want to go ahead and give a shout out to the YouTube channel. Go there, subscribe. These videos will all be there alongside all the other stuff that we've done, the Lean Leadership series, the Lean Learning series, a bunch of stuff on Power Automate and all the cool stuff that we built. So check it out, subscribe, have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you all in the future. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.